Hi everybody, 'tis the Thursday. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite books of 2018 as well as my favorite new to me authors of 2018. A couple of them I have not read more than one story from, but it looks very promising. So we're going to get into first the favorite books. These are in no particular order. I am going to start with the books I don't own, which are the books that I borrowed from the library. So the first I'm going to share with you is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Those of you who have been subscribed to me for a while already know this. Those of you who are newly subscribed, you're about to learn it. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. I tend to just like reading about fake shit, even if it's based in fact. But this year I went out of my comfort zone a lot, in my opinion, because I'm a drama queen, and I read 3 nonfiction novels, I believe, or stories, books, and one of them was Born a Crime. And I don't know if I did a review of that book or not, but I just really enjoyed, number one, hearing Trevor Noah tell his own story. I did listen to it as an audiobook, and also getting the story of a kid growing up in apartheid South Africa, which the apartheid issue was something that I was well aware of as a kid growing up in the States, but I had not really heard any real life stories from people who were the age I was at the point, or younger than I was at the point when that happened. I was trying to figure out how to make that sentence grammatically correct because I started it completely wrong. And hearing his recounting of his childhood, his relationship with his mother, his relationship with his friends, and just some of the things that he had to go through as a biracial child living in South Africa during that time frame where it literally was a crime for him to exist. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed hearing him also share some things in his native tongue and explain some of the things about the native language. That's number one. Number two is An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, which I have mentioned in another video prior to this, as well as when I reviewed it on this channel. That book is everything, in my opinion. It's so good. And this is River Solomon's first novel. Like, what in the world do we have to look forward to? I'm a little scared of the possibility of the sophomore slump or sophomore suckage, but we'll see. And then thirdly, I think this is the last of the books that are on this list that I don't own, is The Mother of Black Hollywood by Jennifer Lewis, another nonfiction novel. And I had to actually pick, like, sit down and really think about her novel versus Tiffany Haddish's, which is the other nonfiction book that I read this year. And I'm going with Jennifer Lewis's because of the time that is, you know, that it sends her, that her novel is taking her through, and her story is taking her through, and being able to relate not to some of the stories that she told, but where she was in the US during that time frame, and her experiences of basically growing up in musical theater and growing up on Broadway and off Broadway, and how she got to be the person that she is. I have always thought of Jennifer Lewis as this over-the-top extra person, and it was also very comforting to know that this is not just something that happened when she got money. She has always had this inflated sense of self, and she is being very true to who she is when she is acting in this manner. So I appreciated that so much, as well as the stories that she shared in the vignettes that she shared with how the AIDS epidemic impacted her life and the lives that were lost that she was in relationship with during that time frame, and the way she sucks at relationships. She probably wouldn't say it that way, but that's my abridging it. I appreciated all of that. The next book on the list is a book I own, and that is Perfect Peace by Daniel Black. 100% honesty, I did not think I read this book this year because it feels like it's been so long since I read this novel. And I read it in February and it just seemed forever ago. But y'all, this book is freaking amazing. I procrastinated and put off reading it even though I'd heard that it was good. And as I started reading it, I was like, oh my goodness, why did I wait so long? But in the same vein, I'm so glad that I read it this year. This follows the story of a girl named Perfect. And does it even say? Yeah. And her mother lied to her and said she was a girl and raised her to believe that her body was a girl's body. And the difficulties that she went through when it's discovered and publicized that her mother lied to her for all of these years, and just the ignorance and bullheadedness of not just her mother but the people in the town. And oh my goodness, this story is so good. Next, I have Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor, and I'm pretty sure the light is like totally bouncing off of this. This takes place in Lagos, Nigeria, and it is the story of what happens to this town and to the people in this town when other beings from outer space, just not the world that we know, descend, and how the town falls into chaos, and the difficult decisions that some people have to make, the ugly things that some people do. I think that, no, definitely of the books that I have read by Okorafor this year, this is the top. This is my favorite. I think this one has the most development in a couple of its characters that are key to the story, and I just really enjoyed this. If you have not read anything by Nnedi Okorafor yet, I would suggest actually starting with this. A lot of people suggest starting with the Binti series because they're short stories, but I think this is a better place to start because I think it shows more of the style of writing that Okorafor does. The next book on this list is A Hope Divided by Alyssa Cole. This is the second novel in her Loyal League series, and I had to pick the second novel over the first, and then this second novel over the two in her Reluctant Royal series, because it's literally not just that this, I think, is a much more engrossing story, but there is one statement that is stated about the main character in this novel, and when I tell y'all, I felt that shit to my core, and I had to put the book down and walk away for a few hours. It was real. And I love the way Alyssa Cole writes, but I truly believe that of the two that are out, this is the better of the two for this series, and I am looking forward to the third novel in this series, which is coming out next year. And my goodness, if that is even better than this, super duper excited for that. But these are companion novels. You don't have to read them in order. I am reading them in order because I'm anal like that. But you don't have to read them in order to know what's going on. They are historical fiction novels. They are set in the Civil War, and I'm assuming going into antebellum South. Depending, we'll see what happens with the next book in the series. But with the ending of slavery taking place, and both of them, the first two books in this series have two strong black female leads, and I think that is important, and the rest I am not going to tell you about because I really think you should read this series, or at least the first two in this series, and this is just so good. And then the last book that I'm going to mention in this part of the video is A Time of Dread by John Gwynne. Y'all, I totally expected this book to be a letdown because I loved the Faithful and the Fallen series so much, and I ended up loving this book so much. The things that I thought that were going to be hard about this book, which I mentioned in the review that I just uploaded, super duper late from when I actually recorded it, but there was so much that I thought this book was going to be, and it wasn't, and I still loved it. That's saying something. So yeah, if you're into grimdark high fantasy, this is so good, and I cannot wait for the next installation, which also comes out next year. That's it for this part of the video. The second part of the video, which I may do a completely different segment or a different video for, it won't be part of Tis the Thursday because there are only 3 Thursdays this month and I already have 3 videos. Yay! So yeah, I think I'm just gonna do that as a separate video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.